At 2 in the morning, most of the world is asleep. But the ones building something that actually lasts, they're still awake. Not because they love the grind, not because they're chasing some Instagram version of success. They're awake because they understand something most people never figure out. Comfort is the enemy of everything you say you want. This is the foundation of Stoic discipline for high achievers, and if you get this one idea, the other 12 will make sense on their own. Here's the question I want you to sit with before we go any further. What if the thing standing between you and the life you keep imagining isn't a lack of talent, or luck, or connections? What if it's just discipline? Not motivation, not inspiration. Discipline, the boring, unglamorous habit of doing the necessary thing when nobody's watching, and no one would blame you for skipping it. The old Stoics knew this 2,000 years before productivity culture turned it into a hashtag. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the most powerful empire on earth, woke up every single morning and forced himself out of bed with a private argument. He wrote it down in his own journal, the one meant only for himself, never for an audience. At daybreak, when reluctant to rise, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. Think about that. The most powerful man alive still had to talk himself into getting up. Discipline wasn't automatic for him either. It never is. That's the part nobody tells you. Number 1. Discipline begins the moment you stop waiting to feel ready. Every entrepreneur who's ever built something worth building has faced this exact fork in the road. You don't feel ready. The fear is loud. The doubt is louder. And still, the ones who make it move anyway, not because the fear disappeared, but because they stopped treating readiness as a requirement. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, meaning the resistance you feel before starting a hard task is almost always worse than the task itself. Ask yourself honestly, how many times has the anticipation of something hard been more painful than actually doing it? That gap between fear and reality is where most dreams quietly die. Not because people failed, but because they never crossed it. Number 2. Discipline is not motivation, and confusing the two will wreck you. Motivation is a mood. It shows up when it feels like it and leaves the same way. Discipline doesn't ask permission from your feelings. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and became one of the most respected philosophers in Rome, taught that we don't get to choose most of what happens to us, but we always get to choose how we respond. That response, repeated daily, whether you feel like it or not, is what separates people who talk about their goals from people who actually reach them. Think about the founder who journals every single morning, even during the weeks the business is bleeding money and sleep feels impossible. That's not motivation. That's a decision made once and honored 1,000 times after. Number 3. Comfort is quietly running your life, and you probably don't even notice. This is the one that stings. Most people aren't lazy. They're comfortable. And comfortable is a much harder trap to see, because it doesn't feel like failure. It feels like relaxing, recharging, taking a well-earned break. But ask yourself, how often is I'll start Monday really just comfort, wearing a disguise? The Stoics had a practice for this called voluntary discomfort. Seneca would occasionally sleep on the hardest bed in his house and eat the plainest food, on purpose while wealthy, just to remind his body that comfort was a choice, not a need. He wanted to know that if everything was taken from him, he'd still be fine. That's not punishment. That's insurance against fear. Number 4. Every hour you protect is an hour you'll be grateful for later. time discipline might be the most underrated form of Stoic discipline there is. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we act as though we have unlimited time, spending it carelessly, when in reality, it's the one resource we can never get back. High achievers who actually sustain success, not just touch it for a season, treat their hours like currency. They protect their mornings. They say no to things that feel urgent but aren't important. Ask yourself, if you looked back at your last 30 days, would you be proud of where the hours went? Or would you flinch? Here's what nobody tells beginners about Stoic discipline for high achievers. It isn't about becoming a machine with no feelings. It's the opposite. It's feeling the fear, feeling the doubt, feeling the pull toward the easy path, and choosing the hard one anyway, on purpose, every single time it matters. The Stoics weren't emotionless statues. They were men who felt everything deeply and still refused to let those feelings drive the car. We've only covered 4 out of 13. What's coming next gets more personal, more uncomfortable, and honestly, more useful, because discipline isn't just about waking up early or working hard. It's about what you do in the moments where quitting would be completely justified. And nobody would even question you for it. Number 5. The moment you feel like quitting is the exact moment your discipline is being tested, not before. Anyone can stay committed when things are going well. That's easy. That's not discipline, that's just enjoying success. The real test comes at 11 p.m. when the deal fell through, when the client ghosted, when the numbers don't add up, no matter how many times you run them. Epictetus said that circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him. Every setback you've ever faced was never really about the setback. It was a mirror. Ask yourself, when things fell apart last time, what did that moment actually reveal about you? Most people don't like the answer. That's exactly why they avoid asking the question in the first place. Number 6. Silence is a form of discipline too, and almost nobody talks about it. We live in a culture that rewards noise. Post about the win. Announce the plan. Talk about the goal before you've even started working toward it. But there's an old Stoic instinct that runs completely against this, the instinct to work in silence and let results speak when they're ready. Marcus Aurelius warned against wasting energy arguing about what a good man should be, and instead, simply becoming one. Think about how much energy gets burned explaining your ambitions to people who were never going to help you reach them anyway. What could you build in that same energy if you just stopped talking and started working? Number 7. Your reaction to criticism says more about your discipline than your reaction to praise ever will. Praise is easy to handle. It feels good, so nobody needs training for it. Criticism is where discipline actually gets built or destroyed. Here's what most high achievers learn the hard way: unfair criticism will come, no matter how good the work is. Epictetus used to remind his students that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, it's our judgment about those events. A harsh comment from an investor, a brutal review, a co-founder who doubts the vision out loud in front of the team, none of these have power over you unless you hand it to them. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your peace this year was stolen by words that 6 months later didn't even matter anymore? Number 8. Discipline without direction is just exhausting yourself for no reason. This one gets missed constantly. People confuse being busy with being disciplined. They wake up early, they work long hours, they push through exhaustion, and still end up nowhere, because none of that effort was aimed at anything specific. Seneca wrote that if a man doesn't know which port he's sailing to, no wind is favorable. Stoic discipline for high achievers isn't about doing more. It's about doing the right things, repeatedly, with a level of consistency that outlasts the initial excitement. Think about the founders who burned out chasing 15 different opportunities at once, compared to the ones who picked one lane and stayed disciplined inside it until it actually worked. Number 9. The people around you either sharpen your discipline or slowly erode it. And there's no neutral option. This is uncomfortable to hear, but it needs saying. Marcus Aurelius surrounded himself with advisors who challenged his thinking, not ones who simply agreed with everything he said. Discipline is hard enough to maintain on your own. It becomes nearly impossible in an environment that mocks it, questions it, or quietly pulls you back toward comfort every time you try to rise above it. Ask yourself, who in your life makes discipline feel natural, and who makes it feel exhausting? You already know the answer. Most people just haven't acted on it yet. Here's the part that separates the ones who make it from the ones who almost did. Discipline isn't a single decision you make once at the start of your journey. It's a decision you're forced to remake constantly, in moments nobody else ever sees. The 5 AM alarm nobody claps for. The meeting you prepared for that got cancelled anyway. The year where growth was slow and quiet and felt like nothing was working, right before everything changed. Seneca called this kind of pressure a forge, not something that breaks you, but something that shapes you, if you let it. There's a story about a Roman general who, before every major battle, would remind his men that the enemy they should fear most wasn't standing across the field. It was the version of themselves that wanted to retreat the night before the fight actually started. That's discipline in its rawest form. Not the battle itself, but the quiet decision made hours earlier, alone, when giving up would have been completely reasonable and nobody would have blamed you for it. We're at the halfway point now. 9 lessons down, 4 left to go, and the ones still coming might be the hardest to hear, because they're not about pushing harder. They're about what happens after you've already pushed as hard as you can, and the results still haven't shown up yet. That's where most people quit. That's exactly where the final 4 lessons on Stoic discipline for high achievers begin. Number 10. Discipline means showing up, especially when there's no proof yet that any of this is working. This is the loneliest stretch of the entire journey, and almost nobody prepares you for it. You've put in the hours, you've made the sacrifices, and still, the results haven't arrived. No traction, no breakthrough, just quiet, uncertain months that test something deeper than motivation ever could. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, and what stands in the way becomes the way. Read that twice, because it's not a comforting slogan, it's a demand. The obstacle isn't blocking your path, it is the path. Ask yourself, in the stretch where nothing seems to be working, are you still doing the work anyway? Or are you waiting for proof before you commit fully? Because proof almost never comes first, it comes after. Number 11. Real discipline shows up in how you treat failure, not in how you avoid it. Every high achiever fails. Repeatedly, the difference between the ones who build something lasting and the ones who quietly disappear isn't the number of failures. It's what they do in the 10 minutes after. Seneca lost his fortune, was exiled from Rome, and later ordered to take his own life by an emperor he once mentored, and even then his letters carry a strange, steady calm. He believed that we should treat every setback as material, something to be studied, rather than mourned. Think about the last real failure you had. Did you spend more time feeling sorry for yourself, or more time extracting the lesson buried inside it? Most people never get past the first part. That's the difference. Number 12. Discipline eventually stops being a fight and becomes an identity, but only if you survive long enough to reach that point. There's a shift that happens for people who stick with this long enough. In the beginning, every disciplined act feels like a battle. Waking up early feels like a fight. Saying no to distraction feels like a fight. Sitting with discomfort feels like a fight. But somewhere in the process, usually further along than most people expect, that fighting stops. It becomes who you are, not something you have to talk yourself into anymore. Epictetus taught that we become what we repeatedly do, not what we occasionally intend. That's the entire secret hiding in plain sight. Nobody becomes disciplined through one good decision. They become disciplined through the accumulation of decisions so small, so unremarkable, that nobody else ever notices them, until one day, the results are undeniable. Number 13. The final lesson, the one that ties everything together, is this: discipline is the only thing that was ever fully within your control the entire time. Not the market, not other people's opinions, not luck, timing, or circumstance, just this. Your response, your consistency, your ability to keep choosing the harder right thing over the easier wrong one, day after day, long after anyone is watching or clapping. Marcus Aurelius kept coming back to this one truth throughout his private journal, over and over, almost like he needed the reminder as much as we do now. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That sentence was written by a man running an empire, buried in war, grief, and pressure most of us will never fully understand, and he still came back to the same conclusion every single time. The only real power any of us have is internal. So here's the question worth sitting with as we close this out. Of these 13 lessons, which one is quietly missing from your life right now? Is it the discomfort you've been avoiding? The silence you haven't been practicing? The failure you never actually studied because it hurt too much to look at directly? Stoic discipline for high achievers was never about becoming some emotionless, unstoppable machine. It was always about becoming someone who feels the fear, the doubt, the exhaustion, and chooses to act anyway, because the alternative, staying comfortable, staying small, staying safe, was never actually an option for people who were built for more. 2,000 years ago, a man wrote private notes to himself, never intending for the world to read them, just trying to become slightly better than he was the day before. He didn't have podcasts or productivity apps or morning routines sold to him by influencers. He had a journal, a handful of hard truths, and the discipline to return to them again and again, especially on the days it would have been easier not to. That's the whole game, not perfection. Not some finish line where discipline stops being necessary, just the daily, unglamorous decision to keep showing up as the person you're trying to become. If even one of these 13 lessons hit something in you today, that's not an accident. That's the beginning of the shift most high achievers eventually go through. The one where discipline stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like the foundation everything else is built on. If this gave you something to think about, take a second to like this video. It genuinely helps this channel keep reaching people who need to hear it. Drop a comment and let us know which lesson hit hardest. We read every single one. And if you want more of this, more Stoic wisdom, built specifically for founders, entrepreneurs, and people chasing something bigger than comfort. Go ahead and subscribe to Stoic Founder. There's a lot more where this came from.